Hey everybody, welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy, your weekly video game news podcast broadcasting live Fridays 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/DCTF podcast. It is Friday, February 16th. I'm your host Lex, and I'm joined by my co-host
Booge.
We are going to talk about all sorts of news this week. Let's jump right into that lineup, shall we?
Shall we?
First, we're going to be talking about job listings. Job listings for so many games, denoting that they're being made. Hooray.
Hurrah.
Followed by publisher acquisitions. Followed by Twitch beating everybody up. Followed by another politician that has come out against loot boxes, this time in the United States. Followed by Dragon Ball FighterZ having a bad time. Followed by PUBG having a bad time, sort of. Followed by a game from our childhood that's being remade, and I'm pretty happy
For some
about
reason.
For
some reason.
For how? Why could it have possibly be happening? And then we're going to round out the show by talking about games that have just come out and games that are about to come out. So, let's start by talking about Pokemon. I'm gonna die real quick, so excuse me.
It's all that shrimp scampi.
Oh, I ate so much shrimp scampi earlier. Oof, so good.
Getting infested.
I got tapeworms now. It's great. So there have been rumors that a mainstream Pokemon game, none of this Stadium or Snap, nothing like that. I'm talking about
Pokken tournament.
None of those fighting game Pokemon games. I'm talking about a legit Pokemon game is going to come to the Switch.
Of course it is. There's not surprising at all.
I mean, it's surprising in that they don't put mainline Pokemon games on consoles, but
well, this is not just a console, Lex. This is also a handheld.
Oh my god, you're right. So this is, I believe, what was the name for it? Was it Pokemon Star or something?
Of the game that is rumored?
Yes. I think that...
yes.
Yeah.
Something to have to do with Star.
Because it sort of has to do with Sun and Moon, so I think that was
right.
like the naming convention. Oh, that might be a working title. We're not sure. But we found out that Pixelmar discovered... that there have been job postings for European translations for Nintendo Switch. And they're planning to be completed between April and June. And let's see, they will be undergoing localization, editing. Editors are being hired on a minimum 6-month contract. So this has caused a bunch of people to say, whoa, this game's happening because they can't be localizing something that doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah, no, this is... what's your bullshit meter on this one in terms of it being real or fake?
I think it's probably real.
Yeah.
I think that I think this is just a situation in which Nintendo has done a pretty good job of keeping a lid on the production of this game.
Right.
Yeah. But considering they're like pretty good at that. Of all the game companies, they're pretty decent at doing that because everything is they control everything really tightly and everything is mostly done in-house. So they kind of have an advantage there.
Although I've never actually fully sussed out, does Nintendo own Game Freak outright?
I assume that they do. They might not, but I think so.
Because I know that, so Game Freak is the company that develops the Pokemon games, and the Pokemon Company is its own thing, too. But I think Nintendo owns all of it. I would assume so, or at least they have kind of like a Sony Naughty Dog kind of second-party or first-party, developer kind of situation going on. Because I know that the rumors through the years has always been that Game Freak kind of flies by their own flag, that they don't really take orders very well.
Their own Game Freak flag?
Their own Game Freak, yeah, they fly that Game Freak flag high. That they've kind of always set their own schedules. They don't really, Nintendo doesn't boss them around. And, their games sell amazingly, incredibly well. So, maybe it's for the best that they get to do whatever they want. But it would make sense that Nintendo has to have something up in their pockets for Switch coming up, because we're kind of running out of the big name stuff that they had lined up.
Yeah, because we know that there's a Metroid game that's being worked on, but that's probably really far off. I mean, we'll see it at E3 time, whether they discuss more about it in a live stream.
Yeah, because I mean, the last we saw that was literally just a title.
Yeah,
so that's usually probably a ways off.
We really need some heavy hitter type titles from Nintendo this summer.
Yeah,
or well, I shouldn't say we need them, but it would be good to have them.
Just keep the momentum going.
Yeah. So this reporting indicates, if it's correct, that the summer is probably when we're gonna see the Pokemon game. So you know, that would be great. That would definitely make a ton of money for Nintendo, and man, it's something I would buy it. I want to play Pokemon.
I'm sure a lot of people would buy it, because I'm also interested to see like a Pokemon game that's not just like I'm interested if this is going to be, like you said, like a mainline, straight up, you know, a full fat Pokemon game on the Switch. I'm interested to see if they'll change the formula at all. Like, is it just going to be an up-resed normal Pokemon game? Is it going to have the 5 million Pokemon that exist now, or are they going to switch up the formula? Like, are they? I didn't even. I could work for marketing. I'm a natural. But yeah, I'm wondering if they do kind of switch this up a little bit. Like maybe it could be a reboot of sorts. Go back to the 150, you know, and have different kind of gameplay than the handheld games do.
Well, I think that is possible. I doubt it, only because we've seen them change up the way Pokemon works on handhelds for the last couple of Pokemon games, in terms of you can move in more directions now that you used to be able to. There's like
now with 4 more directions.
Yeah. So I feel like those kind of steps, right? That whenever it was a big deal when the newest Pokemon games took those steps to change, and it happened so recently in the series that I think it would be way outside of their comfort zone to then take another big step right away.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm thinking, saying first-person shooter. They're going to turn Pokemon into a first-person shooter.
Oh, that's what. Yep. Makes sense.
There you go.
Call of Pikachu.
Let's do it. Yeah, Detective Pikachu goes nuts.
Oh, geez. Okay, so continuing on this theme of job listings.
Jobs.
You like Diablo?
I love Diablo.
I do too, but not Diablo 3. That's crap. Get that out of here.
They almost redeemed themselves.
Yeah,
almost fully.
Well, that was the thing. The expansion was supposed to be really good, but I had tapped out after the first couple months of that game, so I never went back to it. But I did hear it was quite good, and the Necromancer class add-on was quite good.
But all the stuff they've added is really good, but I mean, it's just it never quite got to that Diablo 2 magic that they had before.
So, in an article from PC Games N, whatever that is.
Great name.
Yeah. We discover that there are job listings for working on a Diablo project from Blizzard. I will also point out that the art that they use is, like, amazing. I don't know where this art's from. I don't know if this is official art or, like, art somebody did, but, man, it looks good. Oof.
I think that was from the Rise of the Necromancer stuff.
It's just art that was for promotional for that?
Maybe, yeah. It looks pretty official.
Makes me think of D&D in a real way.
So
we found out that they're hiring a variety of roles tied to production of more Diablo stuff.
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, I doubt it's Diablo 4.
No.
Which is unfortunate, because I think I'd like that if they finally made a new one. But I mean, this is Blizzard we're talking about, as they mentioned in this post. Blizzard does not follow the schedules of any other company. They don't care about you and what you want. They do their own thing because they make $8 quadrillion shit-zillion a day, so they can do whatever they want. I think they actually say, like, they said, I can't find it. They said something about how, like, Blizzard doesn't follow the rules of mere mortals or something like that. And
True.
It's very true. I mean, yeah, I wonder what kind of stuff they're talking about. If I had to guess, I would guess some kind of offshoot Diablo game, maybe something like a clicker game, or
Oh.
an idle game. I think they're called.
Does Blizzard
Or
make those though? Because I don't recall them ever doing stuff like that before. Like when they go to the mobile market, they go to the mobile market with like Hearthstone.
well, that's what I'm saying is that it's going to be something like well, no, they've never done that before, but I can see Blizzard taking an idea like that and doing it Blizzard style. Like making it the best fucking like a revolutionary cookie clicker game, and making it sell shit zillions of dollars.
I mean,
like
that
I
would
can
be
totally
great.
see something like because that's what they do, right? They take existing ideas, polish them, and turn them into like something else. That's what they did with MMOs. That's what they did with collectible card games. That's what they did with loot boxes. That's what they did with team-based shooters.
It's what they did with real-time strategy games.
It's what they did with
StarCraft.
real-time
'Cause,
strategy.
Yeah, it's not like
Yep.
they invented that genre, but these days everyone kind of assumes they did because they were the ones who did it best.
Right, because they were the first ones to have non-asymmetric gameplay. When the first StarCraft came out, the idea of 3 different races that were completely played completely differently from each other was radical. Like
Yeah.
people were like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because they're used to Command and Conquer and like the Dune RTS game and shit like that from Westwood. But anyways, yeah. So I mean, they're known for doing stuff like that. So I could see them doing something like that with Diablo. I don't know what kind of game it would be, but I can see them kind of taking one of those trashy but profitable games and kind of putting the Diablo spin on it.
I will point out that the job listings are for associate producers, creative director also in there, and I think some character artists and software engineer stuff is also. So it's like a bunch of positions, definitely enough to flesh out a small dev team. But what I assume is going on, my theory on this is that we're gonna get a Diablo 2 remaster, like we got StarCraft remaster.
That's a possibility.
And that's probably what these people are supposed to work on, or we're gonna get another big DLC pack for Diablo 3.
Yeah, I'd like to know how well the remaster, the StarCraft remaster, sold.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers on that. I don't know if we can know the numbers on that, but I haven't looked for them.
Right, because I don't think that Battle.net has its own kind of like Steam Spy type thing or not. I'd put money on the Diablo 2 remaster because I remember them saying at some point that the Reaper of Souls was going to be the one and only expansion for the game, that they weren't going to make more. I could be completely wrong about that, but I think I remember them saying that at some point. But I could be wrong. Also, I was thinking, like, with these big companies, like, hiring up big position people, do they really... I wonder if they're just... If, like, they just put that up for fans and then they don't actually, like, accept, like, resumes or anything. Because it's like... There's got to be people lined up... Like, they have to have people in mind for shit like that. It's Blizzard, and they're asking for, like, a creative director job. Like, I can't picture them just taking, like... random resumes like from the internet. They have to be like glad handing and talking to people behind the scenes and be like, oh yeah, we're going to hire you for that. You know what I mean?
Well, it might be I don't know how this works in the private sector, but I know that a lot of the way things work in the in the public sector with job listings and stuff is that you are obligated by law to put up the job listing, even if you've already got someone in mind to take it, and they just take, the interviews from people and be like, okay, well, we've decided on this person that we had decided on ahead of time, but we can still say that we put the job listing out there.
Interesting. Yeah, so it's probably like an anti-collusion or corruption kind of thing, where it's like, or you can't like hire from inside without telling anyone else. That's a strong possibility.
Or they could just want some new people, which, I mean... I feel like I've seen a lot of companies, but particularly I think I've seen Blizzard do postings like this in the past. So I mean, they might just have some theories about bringing new blood into the company and that being beneficial. I don't know, but
yeah, I just can't imagine like the handful of people that are qualified to be a creative director at Blizzard Entertainment. They probably already know who those people are. They're not unknowns out there in the world. It's like that's a pretty that's hard to, that's a hard job to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I want more Diablo. I want them to fix their problems.
yes, no, I would love a Diablo 2 remaster. Oh my god.
Yeah, that'd be real fun.
Diablo 2 in 16:9, everybody.
Woo! Yeah, I won't have to run those tiny little windows anymore. And just to also, they point out the timeline for Diablo 3. It's crazy to think that it launched in 2012, and I remember they announced it before I even lived in Florida, so it was at least 2009. So it's been like a long road with the Diablo 3. So let's hope for something. Anything, I'll take anything.
Yeah, and I mean that's my main reason as to why I think we're not seeing Diablo 4, right? Is because it's too soon. Blizzard doesn't work that quickly. It's not how they
don't.
Anyway, let's move over to Saints Row.
Saints Row,
Dead Island.
About to sneeze.
Oh, there's a publisher.
Come on. Fuck! I hate when a sneeze goes away.
Oh no, that's the worst. So this is a story from GameSpot from February 16th. Today.
Yes, Saints Row, Metro, Dead Island publisher Koch, I think it's media.
Yeah.
Acquired by THQ Nordic. THQ Nordic, the Austria-based company currently in possession of the Darksiders, Red Faction, and Die Blob properties, has acquired Koch Media, the parent company of Dead Island, Saints Row, and Metro publisher Deep Silver. The deal, which is set for approval later today, was worth 121 million euros, approximately 8 quadrillion US dollars. Just kidding, 149 US dollars. The acquisition means that THQ Nordic now owns all of Koch Media's assets, which include its studios, intellectual properties, and licenses, such as the Metro game series. Koch Media's business also includes films, which are created, quote unquote, primarily for German and Italian-speaking territories. Noteworthy studios that are part of the acquisition include Volition, which is responsible for the Saints Row series, Dambuster, which is behind Homefront, and Fish Labs Entertainment, known for the Galaxy on Fire series, which I did not know what those games were, and I had looked them up, and they actually look right up my alley. They're like space trading and combat simulation games. But I've never heard of them, amazingly. Quote, I strongly believe that THQ Nordic is a great strategic fit with Koch Media, said Clemens Kondratsits, Koch Media's CEO, who will continue in his role as chief executive. Quote, in addition to having long experience within games development and publishing, THQ Nordic has the skills, willingness, and capital to deliver growth in the future. They go on to talk about some other things, but where was the thing that I was looking at? Lars Wingefors, CEO of THQ Nordic, indicated that Koch's studios will continue to operate as normal, with both Volition and Dambusters working on unannounced AAA titles, in addition to 4A's Metro's Exodus. This is so weird. Oh, this is the thing. THQ Nordic is convinced that the development studios in Deep Silver, as part of THQ Nordic, will successfully deliver at least 4 ongoing AAA game projects, including Metro Exodus, as well as the next Volition AAA release and next Dambusters AAA release, together with a number of other games developing and publishing titles. This is so fucking weird, this whole THQ Nordic thing. So, for those that don't know, if anyone's listening that don't know what THQ is, or you're too young, if you're currently like 11 years old and don't know who THQ is, they were a big AA, I'd say, games publisher that closed down completely in, actually going to look that up, I can't remember exactly, in 2013, so about 5 years ago. They shut down completely, and they sold off all of their assets. They sold off all the IP that they owned, and just disappeared. And for a lot of people, they kind of realized that it was around that time that like the AA space kind of was disappearing, where it was just kind of turning into big AAA studios and then indie stuff and nothing really in the middle. And that they were a big herald of that. After that, this new company, I don't think they were actually related to THQ in any way, bought up like all their stuff, bought up the naming rights, and called themselves THQ Nordic. And they're just buying up tons of game properties, and it's just the weirdest thing. I don't know what's going on with them, especially because I don't think they've released anything. So yeah, what do you think about the good old THQ Nordic?
I mean, I didn't realize they hadn't released anything. That makes it super weird.
Yeah.
So I hadn't heard of Koch Media, and I don't know if I care about them too much, but it does seem interesting that THQ Nordic is trying to like build itself a little empire, and then sort of, I don't know, I assume they're gearing up for like hitting it, trying to hit it big with a AAA title.
Right.
I could see this being extremely sad in that they decide to be like, we finally acquired enough studios. Now we're going to put all of our resources into a AAA title, and it's an arena shooter, or or like, you know, like a hero MOBA, or like a Destiny clone, and then it comes out and everyone's like, why would we care about this? Because you're way too late to this market. And then they're like, oh no, we messed up.
Oh no. So I just looked them up. Apparently they were a different company. They're just called Nordic Games before, and then they bought THQ stuff and changed their name to THQ Nordic. So they probably do have some money from all these games that they've published since like 2011, apparently. So they probably have some money. But the things that they're buying up are just odd. Just the oddest things, like Dead Island, Saints Row, Metro. Like those are all, you know, decently well known, but they're not like, there's no killers in there, because they also own like Darksiders, which is kind of has a cult following, and like, you know, I don't know, like these are games that most gamers know about, but they don't have that name recognition that you need to like kind of they don't seem to have a flagship of some sort. Like you said, if they just come out of the gate and they're like, we're making like a hero shooter, we're making a loot box game, then I don't know. It's also strange to me, the moves that they're making. But I guess if they have the money, they can do whatever they want. I probably just wouldn't have taken the name of a dead company. That's kind of a strange move.
I mean, I don't. Maybe they thought it would garner them goodwill, but I don't know if it necessarily has that effect. It doesn't seem to be having a negative effect. Like, I don't hear people talking about how horrible it is that they're masquerading as this dead company, because I don't think THQ had, you know, any kind of rabid fan base. Like, if Blizzard went away and then another company bought them and masqueraded as Blizzard, I think a lot of people would be upset, because that company has a much different reputation and a specific way of doing things. But I don't think THQ was like that.
Not really. I mean, everyone knew what it was, and everyone at one point saw their logo on a game. But yeah, it didn't have the kind of rabid following.
And I don't think it really hurts or helps them to do that. So I don't really understand why the rebrand, but maybe they just thought it sounded cool, and it kind of does sound cool. So hey,
THQ Nordic.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
It's kind of a fun time.
Yeah. But let's talk about Twitch for a minute.
Twitch.
Now, since we're on Twitch, let's talk about Twitch. We're going to talk about it. It turns out Twitch is a big deal.
Yes.
Did you even know how big a deal it is? No one did, except we kind of all did, because there's been a lot of stories about this over the past, I want to say, year, about how Twitch's audience is just massive and continues to grow. Apparently, the New York Times did a story about how primetime Twitch is bigger than CNN, MSNBC, and MTV. So all that basic cable is being pushed to the side for game streaming. Dr. Disrespect is pushing.
Dr. Disrespect and his wife are pushing.
Nurse Disrespect, excuse you.
Yeah, Jesus. What a
This Verge article mentions how it talks about the concurrent viewers, which is 715,000 during prime time. And it says that because Amazon owns Twitch, it's no wonder Jeff Bezos was willing to shell out $970 million for this rapidly expanding audience. Yep. And when you hear, oh, Jeff Bezos shelled out $970 million for a website, it sounds silly, but then when you think, oh, that website is as powerful or demands as much viewership as some of the most viewed cable stations, is that a reasonable price for CNN probably.
Absolutely.
If anything, that's a bargain, you know?
It is.
So,
no, it is. I would imagine it comes with way less strings attached.
Oh, yeah.
Like, than buying up, like, a network. Whereas Twitch is new-ish and I think is just owned by, they're just... There's not a lot to deal with in terms of, like, restructuring and stuff like that.
Yeah. This article also includes the chart from the New York Times article, but for some reason it's in super low resolution. So I brought up the New York Times article as well. And it's interesting. You can tell, you can see the concurrent viewership and how it's been raising pretty steadily since 2012. And like, man, it spikes up and then it dips. But overall it's an upward trend. And you see over on the side, MTV with 773,000 concurrent viewers during prime time, and Twitch, when it spikes, go in like 2014. This chart actually only goes up to 2014, which is interesting because that is not that recent.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. So wait, now I'm confused. Because
this article is from 2014.
This article is from 2014, but... No, the
other one
thing is also from 2014. Now I'm really confused because I heard about this in another place that was talking about it like the other day. So
really,
I don't know. I think I was watching the Rooster Teeth's show, and they were talking. They weren't specifically talking about this article, but they were talking specifically about this topic. And then when I searched it for articles, this was the biggest one that came up. So I thought, oh well. So this is interesting, but. Now I'm going to have to...
So this is some retrospective news.
Retrospective news. I need to look back into this later. But I'm going to just move on to New Hampshire.
I have heard... as it matters today in 2018, 4 years later, I know that it is just continually going upwards and upwards and upwards. So it's like... It's inevitable that it will eventually just eclipse all of cable, if it hasn't already. And yeah, good purchase from the Emperor of the Universe, Jeff Bezos.
So here's something weird. I looked up some stories, and there's literally stories from February 14th this week that have almost the exact same title as the one we were just looking at.
Whoa.
So there's a story from Dot Esports, which which. Forewarning, I haven't gotten a chance to read, and I don't know much about Esports. So
and it's full of Nazis.
Oh, no. No,
we've read stuff from Esports before.
So Twitch just passed MSNBC and CNN for January viewers, which is the same as the story from 2014, basically. And it just talks about how, here we go. So last month, Twitch clocked in 962,000 concurrent. So there's the rise between 2014 and now. What was it?
700 and something.
Yeah. So, man, it's a lot. Oh, no, I have pop-ups. Get rid of them.
Come on, Esports.
Esports.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think that when they were talking about the primetime concurrent viewers for like MTV and stuff, I never thought they'd be that low. I always figured they'd be in like the tens of millions or something. But I guess not. I guess it's only. I mean, I guess not that many people watch at the same time TV.
I mean, I think that's part of it. I also think that even in 2014, the cable audience has really been dwindling for the past probably decade or so.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the idea that Twitch is extremely powerful and gaining lots of viewership, but at the same time, it is the idea that while they're on an upward trend, basic cable's on a downward trend. So this was them meeting in the middle. And now I assume Twitch is going to continue to grow and cable is going to continue to decrease.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I can see something like Twitch. Oh, God bless you, Logan. My dog's sneezing. I can see something like Twitch. I don't know if Twitch will probably be the one because it's owned by Amazon, so they can throw enough money in it. But I can see Twitch and like Netflix / Amazon just kind of being like the two sides, basically the replacements for movie theaters and TV, where you don't need to go to the movie theaters anymore. Everything's coming to Netflix or Amazon, and you don't need TV anymore because you have Twitch, And I'm totally okay with that future, And I don't know where radio will fall in there. Hopefully it'll never go away because I do love me some radio still, even though it's outdated.
Wait, is radio still a thing? I didn't even... I thought radio had been dead for a long time.
Oh, it is. It totally is, but I still love it. But yeah, you can still turn on a radio, Lex, and it'll still play music and sounds.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, I haven't tested that theory, but I can go into my basement and find an old boombox with a radio built into it. I'm going to turn it on. I don't think anything's going to come out.
No, it'll just like wind and ghost whispers.
Yes.
I like to imagine you go downstairs, you have to pry it from the hands of like a skeleton to get the boombox. But yeah, Twitch. It's interesting because I remember it's not that old. Like they launched, I think, in 2011 as an offshoot from Justin TV, which launched in like 2007. So it's only been like 10 years that we've had this kind of streaming technology. And it's just, I think people just find it way more convenient, and the kind of community aspect on top of it. People love that shit. Like I don't give a shit about chat. Sorry, chat. But like, I think that a lot of people do. For a lot of people, it's really interesting to to throw them emotes in there, to get hype, throw bits around and stuff at their favorite people.
People love bits. I don't know how they work. Bits. I don't know what they are, but people love them. Okay.
They're like I think they're like casino chips, sort of.
Yeah, they're sort of a digital currency that you earn for watching streams.
Right, and you can have a chip explosion, bit explosion or something. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know, but yeah. People love that Kappa. People love, all that weird shit.
The apparently the .esports article points out that there's around a 25% annual increase in viewership for Twitch.
Mm-hmm. That's big.
Yeah, that's really big. Like, oh my god. So, man. It also mentions that we've got. Although while Twitch performed well in January, it didn't necessarily beat out the U.S.'s biggest cable networks, Fox News Channel and ESPN, which both reported 1.5 million viewers for total day viewership, beating Twitch by about 500,000, because Twitch is like getting to that million mark. But considering Twitch's 25% increase annual, couple more years and finally someone will surpass Fox News.
Jesus. I mean, those are, I would say Fox and ESPN are kind of aberrant out of all the rest of them because of their viewership.
Well, they both have cultures set up around them, which you can't say about most of the other cable channels. You used to be able to say that about MTV, like during the 80s and the 90s, I'd say.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I think like Fox News has a gross, horrible culture set up around it, and ESPN
fair and balanced, like they're fair and balanced.
Yeah, and ESPN taps into the culture of sports. And I mean, we've been doing stories about how ESPN has esports stuff on it now. .esports. So they're continuing to tap that sport vein. Oof.
Yeah, people love them sports. Yeah, I mean, like, because ESPN, I mean, like, some of the I'm trying to think, because I haven't watched, like, sports in a while. Actually, I've been watching the Olympics, so that's a lie. But, like, yeah, I'm trying to think, ESPN, do they actually show football games on there? Or they just do highlights and stuff?
I could have sworn they showed actual games, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. Because I know that's something that, like, the big networks vie for, to have, like, Sunday Night Football. I think it's on NBC or something. Like they fight for that stuff because it's huge viewership.
Oh, maybe maybe with the ESPN, I'm thinking of like college football stuff.
It might be, yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I know there's plenty of football games to go around when it comes to American sports.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, regardless, yeah, like you said, they have the culture of sports. It's like they can talk about sports all day, and they do. And
it makes total sense that Twitch is catching up to them because Twitch also taps into a culture. So
a one that is exponentially growing every single year, which is video games. And I mean, aren't video games still like the fastest growing entertainment media like in the world in like history?
As far as I know, yes. Oh, I will also point out that this whole thing just makes me really sad for MTV because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, MTV was totally like on the cutting edge of youth culture for, I mean, at least a decade, probably 2 decades. Yep. And they just somehow, like along the way, they just bungled that, and now they're just a joke.
Well, I think it was, I mean, I'm trying to think, like, for us, at least for me, I remember really seeing the end of when seeing MTV when last it was popular, and that was like with TRL, Carson Daly. Everyone was watching that shit. Everyone watched fucking TRL and Carson Daly's 2 black fingernails painted, and with like Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys and shit getting popular. Marilyn Manson being like really popular for a little while. Yeah, it was something else. But I think that people stopped watching music videos. I mean, I think it was like, it's internet killed the video star. Quite literally. Because I remember watching MTV for music videos because you wouldn't hear it on, like, you had a chance to hear it on the radio, or you owned the CD, or you could watch the music videos when they were on, or, occasionally on MTV, if you stayed up real late, you could actually watch some interesting shit that you might not hear about all the time.
Aeon Flux,
yeah. Or like the Headbangers Ball was something that I always loved because like I was getting into metal and shit. So listening to all that stuff was awesome. And yeah, that all just kind of went away because I think people realize that they can just find that stuff on the internet. They don't need to wait for Kurt Loder's news segment to be finished or watch Carson Daly.
Well, now that we finished lamenting that, let's talk about New Hampshire.
Remember Spring Break? The MTV Spring Break?
Ugh. Ugh. New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
So we have been reporting a lot lately about loot box controversies, and this is just a quick little story about how a New Hampshire senator calls upon the ESRB to review whether loot boxes are being marketed in an ethical and transparent way. This is from Video Games 24/7 from Thursday, February 15th, yesterday. So this is about New Hampshire Senator Maggie Hassan, who is a Democrat, and she asked the ESRB to review the ethics and transparency of loot box marketing. Let's see. So, where's a good quote that I can lift from this? Hassan read an open letter to the ESRB today during Commerce Committee hearing in front of nominees for the Federal Trade Commission. In the letter, she asked the ESRB to research and publish data on how developers implement loot boxes and how players use them. So this is an interesting story for 2 reasons. One, because it's the second U.S. senator, because I think the Hawaiian guy was also a senator.
I was just looking that up. He was a representative.
Oh, okay. So it's the first. I mean, it's the second. It's first senator, second U.S. politician.
Yeah, Congress people
who is bringing up this topic, but they're doing it in, I think, probably the most reasonable way they possibly could, which is that they're not saying let's end loot boxes. They're not saying loot boxes are gambling or they ruin lives. Like they're taking a much more reasonable stance than the Hawaiian senator did with his somewhat goofy public announcement about it.
Yeah. I played Pac-Man or whatever the fuck he said.
But she's saying is, hey, ESRB, it's your job to like regulate some of this stuff. Can you research it and just make sure it's cool? Because it seems like it might not be cool. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that seems totally reasonable to me.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm glad that this. I've said it a million times on the show. I don't want the government anywhere near my video game industry. To get out of here, get out. When the government gets involved in these things, I feel sometimes that they can drive things to a halt, slow things down, make things just a pain for the end user. But if they are going to get involved, this is a very, like you said, tempered metered way to get involved. This is not her coming out and saying video games are turning our children into crack addicts. It's not the 90s, with people freaking the fuck out over Doom or something like that. This is it's a metered response, and the one that I hope most people in Congress and in the government in general will take towards video games, which is not to shout the devil and blame them for everything, including like AIDS and poverty and everything.
School shootings?
Good on.
School shootings?
Yeah. Son of a bitch. Yeah, no, that's so stupid. It's so stupid because I remember writing a paper in college like a decade ago about how and I found all this research about how they found scientific studies that found no correlation between school shootings and video games, but apparently people still want to just find some kind of scapegoat for no reason, even though they just are ignoring the research. But in terms of this New Hampshire thing, I think that the ESRB will end up not doing anything about it.
No, that's
what I think.
The ESRB responded to comment from Ars Technica. They stated that it had received the senator's letter, noting that as the industry evolves, so does our rating system, and they will continue to make enhancements to ensure parents continue to be well informed. So they're not. They don't
nothing.
care. They're not doing anything.
They don't give a shit. No, and I don't blame them that they don't. I mean,
no, I mean, I wouldn't assume that they would, but I think that this is it's bad for them, the way things currently are, to respond that way.
Sure.
Because you do have politicians like the Hawaiian representative who's all like fire and brimstone about it. And I think that when someone gives a reasonable request and you just say, whatever, you're just going to turn that person who gave a reasonable request into someone who's not going to be so reasonable next time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that also kind of assumes that there's more loot box controversies in the future, or they continue. But considering the way EA does business, there probably will be. So
yeah, probably. No, it's I can see I can see it totally being reasonable. It's good. The ESRB, it's good that they are self-regulatory, that they're not tied to the government anyway. So it's I think that I can see it being totally reasonable if in the future they have their rating, and then they have including in the rating is contains gambling elements or contains loot box elements or something on it, just as a heads up. I think that would be reasonable.
Yeah,
to do.
That'd be fine.
Yeah.
All right.
I was looking up, when did the ESRB start?
It was in the 90s, right? Because of all the craziness. With
94,
Night Trap. It was
yes.
because of Night Trap. Night Trap gave us the ESRB.
Yeah, it started in 94 because I remember being really young and seeing boxes without ESRB ratings on them. And then I remember there all of a sudden were. And everyone cared a lot about it, except my mom was just like, fucking whatever, just get him Grand Theft Auto. My parents did not give a shit what I consumed.
I mean, that seems like the way most parents seem to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that bugs me a little bit. If I ever become a parent, I'm gonna freaking pay attention to the media my kid is consuming. Doesn't mean I'm gonna be super heavy-handed about it and be like, no, you can only watch PG
Christian
movies,
cartoons.
Yeah, you can only watch VeggieTales until you're 20.
Hey, VeggieTales is a good time, man.
Dude, VeggieTales has some dank memes. All right,
it does. Yeah, that really does. It's also a creepy, weird-looking cartoon.
Yeah,
they were. My parents weren't crazy about it, but they drew the line.
Mm-hmm.
But what they let me get away with is pretty crazy. It's not compared to I was talking to some friends, and I had one friend who was saying that his parents or his mom re-edited the end of The Lion King or the middle of The Lion King because they didn't want them to see Mufasa die.
I also know this person. Yes, I've heard this story.
And I was like, wow, that says a lot about you. Like,
Yeah, because we met this person in college, and in college, I guess we rewatched The Lion King because it's just a dope movie.
yeah, it's really cool.
And he was like flabbergasted that scene happened. He's just like, I didn't know that this was a thing, and we're like, yeah,
Like the whole drive of the movie,
kind of
like
the linchpin.
Yeah.
Hamlet's dad, he's got to die.
Right. I was gonna say, yeah, that's like having Hamlet, except his dad's totally fine and living, and the uncle's never a problem.
The whole time everyone's like, man, why is Hamlet so morose? I just don't get it.
He stays in college with his buddies, and he's good.
Yeah, Hamlet's buddies, Timon and Pumbaa. Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. I know. Listen,
that shit literally blew my mind like a couple years ago when someone's like, oh yeah, the Lion King's Hamlet. And I was like, holy fuck, it is. I was like, that really changed my world.
Yep. Let's talk about Dragon Ball Z. I mean, we were just talking about Shakespeare, so the obvious next thing to move on to is Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah. The Shakespearean Dragon Ball Z.
Yes. Dragon Ball Fighters, which is a new fighting game set with the DBZ property, looks like the TV show, pretty much exactly like the TV show,
like it.
Yeah, which is awesome. But they have seen a player base drop off. Specifically, their player base has dropped by 80% on Steam.
Yikes.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Wow, that sounds really bad. But actually, it's not so bad when you consider other popular fighting games. So, at least from this article in IGN, what we are led to believe here is that you have the other big fighting games like Tekken 7. They will accumulate a huge percentage of concurrent players, and then they will drop off by a very similar percentage point. The big difference with Fighters is that the amount of players they achieved was 44.3K.
Yeah.
Whereas the other popular fighting games like Tekken 7, when that was at its peak, it was 18K.
Yeah.
So the Fighters is important because it had that out of the gate, like, huge player numbers that fighting games don't usually have. And that's really the story takeaway here, because it seems like a lot of fighting games just drop a significant percentage after the first few weeks.
They do, because I think it's similar to fighting games are they're like racing games in that they're a very niche genre. Like, even though they've been around forever and they're super popular, they are niche compared to like a lot of other genres of games. It's not like a shooter where someone can get hooked into a shooter pretty easily. You know, fighting games are pretty unique in how they operate. And some people really love them. Some people suck horribly at them, like myself. Even though I like playing them, I'm just horrible. I don't have the twitch reflexes. And I feel like most fighting games have that first week, like, hype where they probably have some friends that are like, yeah, we're all going to get online. We're all going to do, little tournaments with each other and that, and people get really into it. And then after about a week, they're like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, they realize that they're not good at it because it's really hard to be good at fighting games.
Right. Well, whereas the fighting game community people stick around and they get out their fight sticks and and play it, all year round. This, I think, Dragon Ball Fighters, even though I had someone call it Dragon Ball Z Fighter Z, and they're like, I just call it that because it's fun to say. I'm like, you're right, it is. Yep. I think this one even more so shows that off because it's Dragon Ball, and it looks like you can look at a GIF of this game and just be like, holy shit, this looks exactly like Dragon Ball. Like, this is amazing.
Is this a GIF from the show, or is this a GIF from the game? I can't tell anymore.
Who knows? And yeah, it's just that amazing look, the amazing animation style that they went for with this game that I think grabbed a ton of people who grew up with Dragon Ball Z. And maybe not even a fighting games at all, but they looked at this and like, holy shit, I'll pick that up. You know, like, that looks really cool. And that's probably what this 80% is those people that were like, I used to watch the show in my childhood, pick it up, play it for a little while, and then they're like, okay, I got my fill. I played this single player, I played against some bots. I'm done. I'm not going to go online with this. I might watch it during Evo or something. But yeah, I think that's what you see, that precipitous fall is why that happened. I'm actually just looking right now, just curious. I looked on Steam, my friends list, and I do have 2 friends currently playing Dragon Ball Fighters.
Nice.
So and they're both fighting game people. So I think this one will stick with the fighting game people, especially because it's made it into the Evo lineup. So it'll stick around.
Yeah, I think so too. The other thing that's important to mention is when I was comparing it to Tekken 7, right? So Tekken 7, the 18K players at its peak, and then it decreased by 80%. When you have 44K players and decreased by 80%, you still got a lot more players than the next fighting game.
Yes, you do. Yeah. No, it's still a success by any metric.
So let's talk about another game that's still a success by any metric, but is also losing players.
A little bit. I hope you like graphs, Lex, because this one's got a ton of them. I feel like there's been a lot of graphs in this show, actually.
Graphs from 2014, graphs from
old
now.
graphs, new graphs. Got graphs for everything. PUBG hits 30 million sold on PC, but player counts are down. This is from Polygon Charlie Hill. PlayerUnknown's Battleground, the smash hit multiplayer survival game, has sold more than 30 million copies on PC, according to Steam Spy, which tracks public data to extrapolate sales and ownership information for Steam games. So take that with... Steam Spy is pretty accurate, but it's probably... It's always off by a little bit because it's not like tapping right into the data source. It's kind of extrapolating stuff from what it thinks is happening, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably pretty close. So they hit 30 million sold. That's huge for a game that's only been out for like a couple months. As we all know, Plunk Bat, Murder Island, PUBG is, a huge success. But if you go down a couple of graphs, he says there is one chart in particular that is giving analysts pause, and that's the peak and current number of players that log in to play the game every day. You can see the illustrated best in the Steam database, which again draws from Steam's own data set. And Battleground reached its peak for concurrent players in mid-January, when, according to Steam database, 3,257,000 players showed up to chase each other around. As of yesterday, the peak was only 2,177,000. Sorry, I meant to say 3,257,000 was its peak. Now it's down to 2 million. Figures differ between platforms, of course. Steam Charts puts the peak at 3,140,000, and yesterday's closer to 2.15 million. But they're still going the same direction. So, it is starting to lose players. Everyone freak the fuck out. The biggest game, the king has been killed. The crown has been toppled. No, probably not. They go on to talk about how a lot of the users that are getting kicked out could be cheaters. So if you don't play this game, there's a huge cheating problem. This game has a huge cheating problem. And a massive majority of them are in China, which is where the massive majority of playing the game are from. And they've been cracking down on the cheaters harder and harder with their system called BattleEye, which is like their anti-cheat software. And there's so many cheaters that a lot of people are assuming that a good percentage of these people that are off are people that are banned because of the cheating. That there's that many, which I don't think is completely true. I think there's definitely some people that are cheating that account for this drop off. But I think this is starting to level out. I think PUBG is starting to level out. That the amount of people playing, I think, is starting to shed some of the people that came in because of the hype. People that came in just because they heard about it or they had friends that had played it, and now it's starting to level out in terms of the players are going to keep playing it for a very long time instead of the people that are just there for the hype and the early days of the Murder Island. And it's by no means is it doing poorly. is the thing. There's still a asinine amount of people playing it, and it's still selling incredibly well. It's just that maybe finally its booster rockets are running out. And now it's just going to be set on its course.
It's finally broken atmosphere. Now it's just going to drift to the moon.
Yeah, and crash into it. This is also not accounting for Xbox One sales.
Oh, I'm curious as to how much that's what those are looking like. But
so very, 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 very good.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can't stay on top forever.
Can't be the king forever.
Nope. But let's move on to our last story of the day. Spyro the Dragon.
File this one under Booge doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't care too much myself, but apparently Spyro the Dragon Remaster for PS4 is coming this year.
Year of the Dragon.
This is a story from yesterday from GameSpot, and I mean, that's pretty much all there is to say about it. Basically, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. It was insane how much that game sold.
It was insane, that it did well at all.
Yeah, but because it did so well, now we're seeing all of these people wanting to revive different 90s and early 2000s franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And we know there's going to be more Crash games, which is cool. But as I probably could have predicted if I had cared enough to predict, Spyro the Dragon is coming along for the ride because that's just another property that was big at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I watched someone play it once and I said, this is dumb, when I was a kid. And I think I probably said the same thing about Crash Bandicoot. Was not a fan of either of those, but apparently a lot of people were.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people. So good for them, I guess. They get to get the little piece of their childhood revived. I think I told this story before, but I was watching a porn video, and the one of the people in the pornographic video had a colored tattoo of Spyro on their arm, and I thought, wow, I'm really old. And that's it.
And that's the end of the story.
Yeah, I'm just realized I'm like, yep. I'm really old.
I'm going to turn off this porn right now and just go sulk in the corner for a little while.
Just totally flaccid. Just my interest is lost.
So the
no, but that's the most interested I was ever in Spyro. Okay.
No, I think it's interesting because we had Ukulele, right? Came out.
Yeah.
And
bombed.
Yeah, it didn't do very well. The Kickstarter did well, but the actual game didn't do that well. And people were saying like, "Oh, it plays too much like the old 90s games do." But then literally a remaster of Crash Bandicoot comes out and everyone's like, "It's great." And I'm saying, "Wait, but it can't possibly play any differently because it's just a remaster. You just reskinned it graphically." That's So I think that, I guess, what's happening is that you have our generation are aging and want to have nostalgia, and they just care about these characters. And that's what is going to move these games, which is why the people who are putting out Spyro the Dragon are probably going to make a good amount of money off of that.
Sure. It's Activision, so, they don't need it. But
yeah.
But I think, I think you're completely right. I watched a good chunk of Ukulele, and it looked like it was pretty soulless. It looked like it didn't have that, that spark. Because by comparison, Super Mario Odyssey came out, which is also a 3D platformer, an unabashed collectathon 3D platformer, and it was... Man, that game has heart and charm, and it's just like, and it's like I've said before, that game came out, and it's like, oh, that's why Ukulele didn't do well. Nintendo's the only people that know how to make video games. Like, they're the only people that actually know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to argue that, Nintendo is in another stratosphere here. I'm just trying to compare. I'm just trying to compare the B-list '90s platform properties.
Yes, no, you're completely, and you're right. Like, and that was even like Spyro and Crash are from a time before even like 3D platforming like figured its shit out. Like, they were still kind of meandering around before like, or actually, did Spyro come out before Mario 64?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I could not say, but it does say that this September marks the 20th anniversary of the original Spyro's release on PS1.
Oh, okay. So probably around the same time.
Yeah.
Or they're being probably developed around the same time at least. And yeah, I think people just like the nostalgia. People wanna get a little of that Crash, a little of that Spyro, all the wonderful porn stars out there with platforming character tattoos. They want. She wants this game. That's what she wants. She's happy about this game.
Let's move on from this porn we're watching.
What? Are you shaming the Spyro tattooed adult actress?
Listen, I don't want to kink shame anyone, but that's exactly what I'm going to do so that we can move on to games that have just come out and games that are about to come out. So yesterday, Secret of Mana came out for the Vita, but also the PS4 and Windows, and I need to buy that on Windows.
I've heard it's a horrible remake.
I don't care.
I know I've only seen like pictures of it, and man, I do not like that 3D style that they gave it. Looks cheap.
Oof. A little baby bird Secret of Mana.
Yeah.
So today we had the heavy hitters for Nintendo Switch, Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2 being re-released for that platform. From what I have heard, they are really solid re-releases that play pretty darn well. I think the only negative thing that I heard was that Bayonetta 2, or maybe both, I guess both, but 2 it's more noticeable, only can max out at 720p, like even when you're in docked mode. But that's like one of the limitations of the Switch. That's just what's going to happen.
It's not that power. It's not a crazy powerful machine.
Yeah. Let's see. On the 20th, we have
Age of Empires.
We have Age of Empires. We also have Metal Gear Survive.
Yay! I did not know that was coming out this soon.
Coming out for the Windows, the PS4, and the Xbone.
PS4. I'm mind blank there for a second.
So that'll be a train wreck. I can't wait. I can't wait to read about how all the salt will rain down on me.
You know, it's funny. I've listened to a couple of people who have played it behind closed door, and they're like, it's not that bad. But then I've heard other people be like, it's a fucking train wreck. It's the Fox engine, so of course it's going to look and play decently because the Fox engine's fucking amazing. But yeah, zombies, Metal Gear Solid, Survive. Konami returns, I guess.
On the 22nd, we have Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 Plus for the Switch. Wow.
Do you like? Did you play the first Championship Edition one?
No.
It's fucking awesome.
Oh, that's
it's
cool.
Like it's legit really cool. They change up the game modes and stuff. It's if you like Pac-Man at all, crazy. It's awesome. Really, really good.
Let's see. On the 23rd, we have Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet. Wow.
That game, Sword Art, is one of those things that, is it an anime, or is it a game, or is it a game about an anime? I never knew the real deal.
I don't understand how these things work. Don't worry about it.
I just work here.
Yeah, we on the 27th, we have Payday 2 is getting its release on the Nintendo Switch, which I guess is fine. I don't think I would rebuy it for that. I feel like I'd just play it on PC again, but I don't know. It's a game that I am no longer interested in.
Sure.
It's not bad.
I never played either of them, but I know people like them.
Yeah. But that's the thing. That's what we're going to talk about. We're done. The show's over.
Wait, Lex, what about Girls und Panzer Dream Tank match?
Nah, we don't have to talk about that.
Ah, shit.
Dan's not here, so I don't have to. That is like one of Dan's favorite shows. So if Dan was here, he would definitely be talking about that.
Oh, Girls und Panzer?
Yeah. It's actually not a bad anime, but it's all about cute girls driving tanks.
Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm. So
hey, I was into I forgot the name of the
Girls
game.
with Spyro tattoos? Is that what you were in?
Well, that too. Fuck it, I forgot what I was going to say. Do your thing.
I'm sorry. So anyway, everybody, thanks for listening. This has been Don't Copy That Floppy, weekly video game news podcast, broadcasting live Fridays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to check us out on social media, or you want to check out our show archive, you can find that stuff by going to such places as chipbit.net. We've got a show archive up there. Also, YouTube, and most importantly, iTunes. If you go onto iTunes, you can leave us a rating and review, which we would super appreciate. Now, if you want to find us on just general social media, get in contact with us in some way, we can be found on Facebook or on Twitter at DCTF Podcast. And finally, if you have a whole lot of money and you really want to give us money, because please give us money, you can go to patreon.com, search Don't Copy That Floppy, and you can hand us some money and then get bonus content every month featuring me and Dan. He'll probably be talking about Girls und Panzer, and it'll be great. Probably.
I love that title is Girls and Panzer.
Yeah, it's Girls and Tanks. That's
Girls and Tank.
Yeah. So thanks for listening or watching. And Chris, what do people need to do?
Don't copy that floppy.